Welcome to the panic button. My name's that is Nina.
Hello.
If you haven't left yet, I'm sorry that you stayed for this.
Okay.
Oh, Today is a new day. What a day.
So the UK finally decided they knew what a woman was.
I was right. What a fucking good day.
And we're going to react to it. Because, you know, that's what we do.
You mean someone finally said, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yes. Yes, they did.
Okay, Supreme Court says that only women born as female will have access to women-only services such as female-only prisons, housing for abused women, and not anyone who's changed their gender. This is like somebody telling you that, in fact, a rectangle is not a triangle. And like, think about if there has been a geometry debate for the last 10 years, and there's been a group of people that have been just adamant, militant, vicious, aggressive, out for blood to tell you that a rectangle is a fucking triangle. And finally, somebody says, no, it's not. It's actually a fucking rectangle. This is a huge victory for, what do you call it? A huge victory for common sense. Massive victory for common sense, especially in the UK. You don't get a whole lot of those. And so the Supreme Court backs bylaw. Let's look at this.
The unanimous decision of this court.
It says
is
unanimous.
that the term
You see that? Thank God. So that means there's not any goofballs in there. No goofballs.
woman and sex in the Equality Act.
Let me bounce back.
That the terms woman and sex in the Equality Act 2010
Yes.
refer to a biological woman and biological sex.
Yes.
But we counsel against reading this judgment as a triumph of one or more groups in our society at the expense of another. It is not. As I shall explain later in this hand-down speech, the Equality Act 2010 gives transgender people protection not only against discrimination through the protected characteristic of gender reassignment, but also against direct discrimination, indirect discrimination, and harassment in substance in their acquired gender.
So you can see, right? And this is, I mean, like, all that makes sense, right? You can't harass them, but they're also not the same as a biological woman. I feel like that's a pretty reasonable thing to think. I think everybody thinks that pretty much. Don't go around harassing somebody, but that doesn't mean that you've got to go and act like they're the same thing as a biological woman, right? And so that's it. And anyway, it's perfectly reasonable. It is. It's perfectly reasonable. Huge win for common sense. LOL, what? The UK did that? Surprise. Yeah, I know. It's a great thing. A rare bit of good news from the UK.
We watched, was it a clip from the action? It was a clip of a like NPR style guy talking about this. And I went to the comments, and the comments were just filled with people like, thank God. And he even had on a DEI expert, which means that he's probably more left-leaning, politically speaking. And he didn't seem against it, but the DEI expert was like, you know.
Wasn't it a woman?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But all the comments, yes, were like, this is actually, like, amazing. Common sense wins. I'm so happy.
It only took over a decade. Like, over a decade is insane. That it took that long for people to be like, oh, yeah, we know what a woman is now.
Men have penises. Women have vaginas. Wow.
You don't say. I learned that in kindergarten cop. Okay. When I was a kid.
I think I learned that when I was in kindergarten.
So, but the adults, they didn't know. Or they just refused to acknowledge.
I had brothers. I think my whole life I knew, like, boys have a penis, girls have a vagina. It wasn't like...
Men and women are different, you don't say.
It wasn't like, yeah, I was raised in a straight Christian household. My entire life was knowing that men and women are different. Half the reason I'm a lesbian is because I know men and women are different. If I wasn't, I'd be bisexual, if I thought men and women weren't different.
If you would have told me years ago that being born into a Christian household will keep your children based in reality, I would have said, what? That's what I would have said.
And before a Supreme Court is arrested for that offense. And women-only services. So, like, there's a lot of services, like, for example, like female-only prisons, housing for abused women. So the fact is that these services exist.
Female domestic abuse lines. Like,
Rape
doesn't
shelters.
this, because the tickle versus giggle was in the UK.
Yeah.
Doesn't this kind of reverse everything that was settled there?
You know what? I really don't. No, sorry. I'm sorry. It's on Australia. Tickle versus giggle is Australia.
Because I was saying,
So
if,
no.
if that was the UK, then that would completely negate everything that was just done there.
Yeah, Australia is still pretty.
Yeah, they should probably get that in the UK, and then they'd have better standing.
Well,
But
they
this
have
is
they have it in the UK.
all the
They need
times
it
that
in
what's
Australia.
her name called on J.K. Rowling. Well, it's not India Willoughby, is it?
Yeah, that dude.
Every time he called on J.K. Rowling, being like, "This is a crime."
I feel like I have a hair like hanging.
Try again. Open. I got it.
Thank you.
Does it
It's
feel
driving me
better?
crazy. India Willoughby.
That's in the UK.
Yeah.
And I'm guaranteeing you that they got tired of hearing the phone calls about J.K. Rowling's calling me a man.
Oh yeah, because people were blowing up the cops' phone line saying, "I got misgendered. Arrest this lady."
Yeah, yeah. And people
Sure they
like
got tired of it.
India Willoughby or whatever
Yeah.
people like them are the biggest culprit, and why like you're not being taken seriously too. If you wanted a different legislation, then you shouldn't have been acting like that, because that's exactly how you get people to take away whatever they were trying to give you.
Yeah, when you push people so far in one direction, don't be surprised when you are pushed far in the other.
Away.
The fact is that these services exist because of the intrinsic nature they have of being segregated. Like, again, there's a reason why you have female-only prisons. There's a reason why there is housing that is just for abused women. And, like, that's it. And you might not think that's fair because it's discrimination, but everybody that knows that it makes sense, right? Everybody, like, you gotta be out of, that's me, not you, sorry. You gotta be out of your fucking mind to think that it's not. And so, anyway, you saw that Chinese are fleeing China right now? No, I'll look at that later on. But problem is they consider not thinking them as biological women as harassment. Well, they're not biological women. It's just a fucking fact. Like, you might not like to hear that if you're a trans person or whatever. And I can see how for you it would suck, because like you want to be seen as this other type of person and you want people to like you, etc. But the fact is that if you're trans, it is not the same thing as being a biological female.
Also, you don't get to dictate what other people think of you or say
Or what's
about
available
you.
for you in the world. You don't get to choose that.
Yeah, I mean, you might not like that people say you're a man, but I don't like that people say I'm fat, but I'm not going to like go cry about it. Like,
You're not also going to be
boo-hoo.
like, "Oh, I'm not fat," because you know
No,
what's
I'm
going on.
thin as a rail. It's like,
Right.
come on, no, I know what reality is.
I don't
and
like when
people can say
tell
whatever they
me-
want.
I don't like when people call me short, but I still like don't act like a fool. I don't like when people look at me and say, "What are you?" Because you're not white. I don't like that, but I can't control what other people do. I can control my reaction to what people say and how they act, and I can take advantage of the resources available to me as what I have.
Yeah.
You asking for and insisting for other services that already belong to other people is what's the problem. If you want to start that kind of program for your community, no one's going to stop you. But that's the thing.
You actually think they would? That requires effort and
But
work.
how did these women's shelters happen? It's 'cause
Effort and work.
'cause
They want to
women-
take. They don't want to work for anything. They want to take what other people have worked
And that's my point, is that you can't just step into someone else's field that they already created for a different, what do they call them? My different minority, or what do they call it? Like when they're a hated group.
a different faction of society.
No, they have a different. I don't. It doesn't matter. But that's the point. At the end of the day, is these people who were a minority at one point got together and had their own community built,
Like gays and gay rights, yeah.
and beaten women and things like that, and they made the groups. If you're gonna make the group, okay. But if you're not, don't force your way into someone else's.
Yeah, don't steal
Yeah.
what we worked so hard for.
Yeah.
And call it your own. And then change history and say, actually, we were the ones that worked for it the whole time, not you. And it's like, oh, okay, now you're making people fucking mad. Because now I'm mad.
And everybody knows this. Literally, everyone fucking knows this. The only reason why anybody pretends like they don't is because they're afraid of getting canceled. Everybody knows this. And so anyway, too bad. Yeah, exactly. And so that's really what I think more than anything. What about straight males? Are we getting anything? Well, I mean, no. This is for women-only prisons because in a lot of cases, straight males are the ones that beat them. Like men and women both initiate domestic violence often, but I mean, like if you're getting in a fight with a bear, it doesn't really matter if you start the fight or the bear starts the fight. The bear's going to win the fight. And so that's really the reason why. It's like women are in a disadvantageous position, right? Like that's it. And like yeah, you're lying.
The point stands. It doesn't matter if the woman slaps a dude. He's bigger and stronger, so he should come back with equal responses. But most men, most people in general, if someone smacks you, you're going to lose your cool and like fucking throw them.
Yeah.
And if a woman tries to throw a man, he's not going to go very far.
Yeah.
But if a man throws a woman, she might die.
I've seen a lot of videos on X of men and women, well, women attacking men and men just like standing there and then finally getting so sick of it, they just push them and the woman just flies and the guy like barely did anything. It's like, that's reality.
And
a bear can identify as a
think
puppy
those women should
and be cuddly and sweet and soft, but he's going to eat your face.
I don't think the women should be getting away with it.
Right.
But I also don't believe that women initiate domestic violence as much as men. I've seen it way more where men initiate domestic violence.
We'd have
than
to look
women.
at the statistics.
I'm just saying from what I've seen, I'm not claiming that this is true. From what I've seen, it's usually that the women are being abused. Mm-hmm. And that's what those kind of resources are for. It's not for just like, oh, we both hit each other. Those people usually go off to some other shit and they don't go to shelters and stuff to get help, you know?
Why do you want to go into a women's abuse shelter? I mean, that's a little suspicious.
They definitely have resources for men, too. It may not be as readily available as the female resources, but they have them.
Yeah.
Of course they do. They have some resource out there that you could take advantage of. I'm sure they even have them for specifically trans-identifying people. Mm-hmm. Like the Trevor Project and everything, some of their fucking money has to go to resources for things like that.
Well, then why don't they go to the
That's
trans?
what I'm saying.
Why did they go to the women's instead of the trans?
That's what doesn't make sense. Why don't you use the resources available to you?
What do you think the intention is?
You insist on the world seeing you as what you are seeing yourself as.
But you can't force people to do things they don't want to do.
That's what they're trying to do. That's all they're trying to do.
But that doesn't work.
I know.
That's like trying to push a boulder up a hill and the boulder is like 5,000 tons. Mm-hmm. It's not going to happen no matter how much you believe you can achieve it.
Really? So you getting your ass beat up by women all the time? Damn, that sucks, bro. Like, you a bitch. Damn. So do y'all know we got a pussy in chat? We got a pussy ass bitch in chat. What is going to get your ass beat up by a girl? You're getting beat up by a girl, brother. What is wrong with you? Oh my God.
No, the feminists on the left would take offense with what he just said. How dare you think that women aren't strong, Whoopi Goldberg? You don't know women. You don't know how strong they are and capable they are. I know statistics.
I do think it's funny when men are so weak they can't defend themselves against something that's smaller and lighter and has less muscle. I do think that's funny too.
Do you think they actively aren't trying to protect themselves, or do you think that they actually can't?
Wussy pussy don't give a fuck boys that just want to complain about everything anyways.
So they seek out being the victim?
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, did you drop your gay card? What's going on about this? Shut up, man. Why, you being such a little bitch. Her name is Emma Frost. Well, if only I could be so lucky. But here's the thing. This is a great thing. I'll tell you that. And let's see here. I'll find the rest of it. Rarest UKW ever. And crazy this is coming from the UK. And it's just nuts. Huge one for women over there. I hope stuff like this continues to happen. It is going to happen. You deserve it's happening. Every news that I read is very violent revolt. It says like a new McDonald's just opened kind of news. I don't know about that. And in saying that women born as female is a statement that anyone has to clarify. I think that, the age of the mental illness SSRI Karens is waning. We are seeing the death throes of that age, and I can't wait to see it. It's
Speaking of Karens, friend of mine, Vicky.
Drop in the description.
Voices with Vicky. That's her channel name.
We'll put her link in the description.
She sent me a clip of a reaction to this UK news. You ready for this? Now, this is a trans person that I used to like at one time until he went absolutely nutso.
Oh, go figure. The estrogen went to his brain.
Trans women are now not legally recognised as a woman. I'm a trans woman and I want to talk about it if that's okay. This new law isn't going to protect or help anyone. People can now stop and say to you, you don't look like a woman to me. Are you a biological man? Women are going to have that. I'm sick of being blamed for men's behaviour time and time again.
He just said that women are going to have to deal with men stopping them in public and saying, you're not a biological woman.
Well, not just men, but anyone.
Who is doing that in the first place?
I don't know.
When have women, have you heard of an instance where this has happened?
No.
Me either. He's a lunatic. He is making shit up. Women don't have to deal with that. Women have to deal with catcalling, but no one's gonna stop. Like, I've only heard of that in one instance, and that's because the woman actually kind of looked like a guy, and she was like 6'5".
I've only ever seen those black ladies whipping that one lady out of the one trans woman out of the bathroom.
They were not having that.
No, I saw that one. And then the only other thing is when they were like doing it because Congress or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And they had like the bathroom party.
Yeah.
It's the only time I would have seen like people being like, you're not a woman.
But we all know that. He thinks that women are going to have to deal with men. Like, it doesn't make any sense. You're not making sense.
I also love when people on that side of the argument who are like, trans women are women.
Yeah.
I like when they're mad at us and they're like, well, you look like men. It's like, oh, so you also don't believe that they're actually...
Right. It's like, you can't.
You actually
What
just
you
made my
doing?
point. Thanks.
Thanks for being a retard. It's really funny. We like to laugh.
Time again, a man doesn't have to put on a dress and a wig to go into a woman's space and do something bad. They can do it anyway.
This fucking argument drives me fucking crazy. Because it's so, oh, well, men are going to do it anyway. They don't have to put on a dress.
Why are we making it easier?
Why would you make it easier for them to get away with it? Because if they put on a dress and identify, well, now they have a legal right.
Right, at least you're making them have to go to Party City and, like, get a costume. And it stops them from going right in and just doing it. And, yes, there are some mentally ill men who will just go right into a facility and do it anyways. That's not the people we're concerned with. We're concerned with the people who are playing dress up and pretending that it's not a problem.
Or using their fetishes and then going into the woman's bathroom in order to get whatever
they want out of that, yeah.
You know? Like, that's what we're talking about. Whatever this lunatic is talking about, it doesn't, it's...
If you don't know what goes into transition, it's not just a switch that we flip. I had to be legally diagnosed with gender dysphoria. I had to go through a psychological evaluation. I have had 8 surgeries. I had to prove myself time and time again to get my gender recognition certificate, which I...
Can I just say that the 8 surgeries didn't do much? I know a lot of people will say, oh, she passes this. No. I'm sorry. You're lying.
I think that
you're lying, or maybe there's something. I don't know. I don't know if there's something off. But no,
I think she passes in the sense that you wouldn't
like if they just like walk by
or you think, wow, what an ugly woman. Or like,
yeah. Okay, I get that. But as soon as he talks, I'm like,
well, yes, the voice gives away. But if you walked past that woman,
yeah,
in the store, you'd be like, oh, she wasn't the most attractive thing, was she?
Well, nowadays you'd be like, that might be a man.
Now, but like when people say they might pass as a really ugly woman. Mm-hmm. That not necessarily as like they look great, but I think that's what they use passing as. Like, yeah, if I walked past this person and they didn't hear the voice, I would be like, well, it's an ugly lady, but I guess. And I don't mean that in a hateful way. I don't mean that. It's just some people, when they transition, they don't look like an attractive version of the gender they're going into.
Yeah.
And I don't think you would have been an attractive man either. Maybe it's just like the face. That's just not for me. But like, that's what it comes down to is like passing based on people's standards like that is more like visually, would I be like, that's probably a woman? Sure. Does that make sense?
Like a very unattractive, older woman?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not a young, beautiful woman.
No, like older.
Like an older woman.
Like 50, I'd say like 52.
She's had a hard life, smokes a lot of cigarettes.
Yes.
No offense to you.
Hey, it's okay.
She's a chain smoker, probably sits at bars a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. And so
I feel
that's when passability is like, would you say Yeah, you can go into the woman's room just by looking at. Not by hearing voice, just by looking. I think that's where passability comes in.
I'd have to really think about that. Just because in today's society, how it's all wonky with the whole trans thing.
I think you don't want them to pass sometimes.
I don't want them to pass? No, I don't think that's it at all, no.
I think that you're like, this man's disgusting, and then you get mad.
No, I have totally said when I think people pass and when they don't. I just have a keen
ugly
eye.
person. So I feel like this one, this passes, but not well.
Okay.
Yeah, you transitioned, but it wasn't the best. You could have gotten a better plastic
1
surgeon.
out of 10, 10 is Blair White passability, which even the shoulders with Blair can give it away sometimes. And then 1 being Jeffrey Marsh or Lily Tino. I'd say that he's maybe an 8. I'd say an 8 passability.
Yeah. So he does pass.
I would have a twinge of but okay.
Got earlier on this year. Now be told that I'm not legally recognised as a woman. I get married this summer. Sorry to make it about me, but I get married this summer. And I don't know if that means I'm getting legally married as a man or a woman, which really sucks.
Which doesn't really fucking matter.
Maybe if you didn't internalize your homophobia, you wouldn't care if you were getting married as a man or a woman.
Right. But you know what's great? You can get married. See? You just can't get married and legally be recognized as a woman. But you can get married, so take the win. No, we can't take the win. We sorry to make it all about me. It's always about you. That's why I stopped watching you, because it's all about you. The narcissism. It's something with these trans women. It's just the narcissism just ramps up.
Yeah, because he doesn't want to look like a gay man, so he needs to get married as a woman, so he's straight.
So in his head, he believes he's straight.
Yeah.
No one else.
Yeah.
No one else.
That's
thinks
why it's such a big deal, dude. That's why it's such a big deal if he has to get married as a man or a woman.
If you're thinking this too much, if you're thinking this much into it, you are so fucking privileged. I want to vomit. That's what I think. Take the fucking win.
You are clearly on TikTok, making your little videos. You clearly have enough money to make this work, which means you're gonna have a nice wedding.
Ton of surgeries. Yeah, you got the money.
Which means you're gonna have a nice wedding. I guarantee you that no one's gonna sit there and go, and here's Mr. and Mr. da 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 da. You're paying those people. They're gonna say it's Mr. and Mrs. If that's what you're really worried about, they're not gonna say the wrong thing. But at the same time, they're not wrong if they say it's Mr. and Mr. Be glad that you can get married. Be glad that you have this beautiful ceremony with your friends and family and move on. A lot of people don't get that. A lot of people don't get that. So just
No. See, we can get married, but I can't get married in a beautiful church. So now I'm going to get really mad about it. It's no. Okay, whoop-de-doo, I can't get married in church. Whatever. We can get married, right? Okay, I take the win. You take the good, you take them back. You take the good, you take them the bad. Damn it, hold on. I'll get this. You take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and then you have the facts of life. The facts of life. And sometimes you just got to stop being so privileged and up your own asshole and take the win. Or you can complain about it and look like a giant head online. Case in point.
Also, something else I want to point out, they want us to use the toilets that aligns with our biological sex. So trans men, women who transition to men, look very much like men. Beards, you would never know. So that means they should then use the women's toilet, which means men can just walk in and say, I'm a trans man. I was born a woman. I should have been here. It's not making anyone safer.
Oh my God. Did you hear that? Mm-hmm. Oh my God. They're doing it right now. Well, now they're no longer allowed to, but that's what they were doing to begin with, was just walking in and saying, I'm a woman. So are you for that or against that? That's what I'm confused about. Is he for it or against it?
I don't know what they're for.
And most trans guys don't pass.
I think we should just have 3 doors.
How many trans guys do you say pass?
In pictures, they pass.
No, in real life.
No, that's
because he's saying they can go in there and they pass.
Most trans guys pass in pictures, is what I'm saying. And then you meet them in person and they're very little.
Yeah. So when he says that trans guys
and
pass,
they sound like gay men,
you're lying. Or you're deranged. Because most trans men, I'm sorry, they don't pass. because most of them are tiny. And their voices give
They're
them
like
away.
me size.
Yeah. So no. That's you're bullshitting.
Safer, and that's the most frustrating thing. It's going to put more women and girls in danger. It's going to put trans people in danger. This is not.
I love how now they care about women's safety.
Now
Right?
it's dangerous because it's on their side.
Wait, so we're in danger because we won't allow trans women in our bathroom?
They
Can
didn't
you
care
make
about
that make sense for me?
They didn't care about the danger when it started.
Right. So make that make sense. How are we in danger? Females are in danger because we won't let this guy in our bathroom.
How are we in danger?
Yeah, he said
We're
women
not.
are now in danger.
We're not.
Can you even make sense of that?
Well, I don't think we're in danger because, like, you're not in the bathroom anymore. No one with
Right.
penises in the bathroom anymore.
Right. Well, he said that men can just go in there anyway.
They could before. Anyone can do anything at any given time. It's called free will. It's crazy. If I want to just punch you in the face, the only thing stopping me is that I love you.
No, the only thing that's stopping men from going into our bathroom is laws.
Right.
If you allow men to identify as women, then they can legally go in there and you can't call the cops on them.
Consequences. Like, realistically, I don't want to punch you in the face because I don't want you to punch me in the face.
I wouldn't. I would just be very upset.
I would never punch a pretty face.
This is not the end. It's just the start of what they're trying to do. It is discrimination. I understand some of the trans community haven't helped the situation. Fuel has been added to the fire by them. If you take anything away from this video, it's that this isn't benefiting women. It's not making women safer or girls safer. It's going to make them more prone to judgment and criticism from strangers, because if you don't look like what someone thinks a woman should be, you're going to get challenged on that. That's what.
Do you believe that?
No, because, like I said, we let this one slide on ugly.
So before any of this trans thing was amped up to 1,000, how many times did someone stop you and say, I don't think you're a woman?
0.
0. So how are we in danger?
Because based on what this person is saying, we're in danger because now a man who's a fully intact man can come into the locker, the dressing room, whatever. They can come in and they can be like, no, I'm a woman. I just transitioned and look like a man.
Okay.
But they have a penis. That's why she thinks we're in danger.
Okay, and that's what they were doing before.
Yeah. That's what she's fighting to do, actually.
Okay. So we're in danger because men do creepy things. We're just making it, or the UK is just making it so men can't do those creepy things legally.
Easily, yes.
Yeah. Because men can still do those creepy things, but legally you cannot do that now. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So, but we're also in danger because now men can stop us in the street and say, hey,
Do you have a penis?
you look like a man. Are you a man? Not never has any woman had to deal with that except for like 0.000000001%.
From what I've seen, most men are scared of women anyways. They're not going to be like, are you a man? I saw this one guy doing like a gym challenge video, like one of those like silly ones.
Yeah.
And he walked up to this really buff Asian guy, and he's like, your gym challenge or whatever is to go ask the lady for her number. And he's like going around and doing it. And he's like, I'm terrified of women. He's jacked. And he's like, nah, I'm ugly. This is why I'm here, to look better. But like, jacked Asian dude. And he's just terrified of women.
Do you think that maybe because he gets stopped about being a woman, that he thinks that other women are going to be in danger?
yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
no, it's because you're a man that you get stopped. Other trans women get stopped. Women don't get fucking stopped.
They don't get fucking stopped.
Maybe the ones who kind of look really fucking like a man and are actually like really tall, those ones get stopped because the creepy men walk right in behind some little girl like Lily Tino into the girls' bathroom.
Even little Tino knew when it was time to bounce.
Yeah. So what the fuck? Y'all caused the issues that are causing men to stop people and say, hey, you're a man. Y'all started it. Now you're complaining that men are going to do. Well, congratulations. You played yourself. You are the one who created this mess. See, that's what happens when narcissists try to take over.
This ultimately means for women. I'm lucky that I can go out into the world undetected. Not all trans women have the finances and opportunity to make that a possibility, and some genetics don't make that a possibility. I'm lucky and I understand that, but not all trans women are. Hi. A fire has been lit in me by this blatant discrimination against trans women.
And you have no idea what kind of fire has been lit under the asses of women for many years, and that's why we finally got our rights back. Like and subscribe, everybody. Join our memberships. Have a good one. Stay vigilant, my friends. Stay vigilant.